The following program is brought to you by PodcastOne Sportsnet.
This episode of the Steve Austin Show is sponsored in part by DDP Yoga. Hey man, working hundreds of matches over the years, it ain't no surprise that my body is taking its share of bumps and bruises. Life in a squared circle will damn sure take a toll on a man's body. And my buddy Diamond Dallas Page knows all about the wear and tear the ring takes on your body because he did the same thing I did. The business of pro wrestling. And it turns out his DDP Yoga fitness system was specifically designed to burn fat, reduce pain, and heal from injuries. Now, to those out there who weren't in the squared circle like we were, if you have injuries from life, this program can help you. Now listen, Dallas is so positive that you'll absolutely love the DDPY program and using the DDPY app. He's doing something he ain't never done before. He's going to give you 7 days free to try it out. That's a week to try the program, explore the app, get to know it, and own your life, and it's completely free. Now listen to me. DDP Yoga can work for all ages, weights, and fitness levels. It's a kick-ass cardio workout that will dramatically increase your flexibility and strengthen your core like never before, all with minimal joint impact. Just for listeners of the Steve Austin Show, you can save 20% off an annual membership for the DDP Yoga Now app of any DVD pack. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to get started. And by the way, Dallas, I'm still waiting on my personal program.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah! Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the Silver State over here in Nevada, home of the Broken Skull Ranch 2.0. Today on the podcast is the rest of my interview with the Big Show, Paul White. I asked you guys to send some questions in to questions at SteveAustinShow.com, and today I'm going to ask those questions, and Big Show will supply the answers. We weren't able to get all the questions, but I appreciate everybody sending them in. Big Show coming up on the podcast. Man, I tell you what, I'm a little disappointed this morning. I got up this morning, and a couple of days ago, me and some buddies I met from the local motorcycle shop were going to go out riding this morning. I had my dirt bike, my KLX 450 on the back of my motorcycle rack, had my gas tank in the back of my pickup truck, all my gear, shoulder pads, chest protector, knee pads, elbow pads, helmet, goggles, all that stuff that you need to wear when you're riding your dirt bike. I was ready to go. Rain system came in here, got a call about 8 a.m. from the main guy that's going to take us riding, and he said, hey man, it's going to get nasty out there, and if we're on two wheels, that stuff is going to get greasy, and we're probably going to get caught in a gully washer, and it's going to totally F everything up. We might want to cancel. And I said, hey, man, I'm down with that. I tell you what, I got caught in the rain on my four-wheeler the other day riding that Brute Force 750. And, man, coming down a rocky slope and got into some – it looked like mud, but it really wasn't mud. It was hard ground. But it's that greasy feel my brother-in-law is always telling me about when that weather starts getting wet or icy. And, man, my ass end started sliding around on that four-wheeler. And I was like, man, do I have a flat tire or what? I looked back here on my left back, looked on the right back tire, and – both the tires are fine. It's just that greasy stuff. Now, imagine being on that in four wheels versus just being on two. And I tell you what, I got in some deep sand the other day on my dirt bike, and I called my buddy at the motorcycle shop. I said, hey, man, how you guys riding in some of this deep sand when you get off that rocky stuff? And he goes, Steve, you just got to get your ass back there on the back of that seat, get your weight on the back wheel, get that front end up a little bit, and just go. And I tell you what, man, that sand down there wiped my ass out. So anyway, to imagine riding in some slippery stuff with a bunch of greasy feel to it doesn't sound like a good idea. I tell you what, I've been riding motorcycles my whole life, but kind of at a casual level. I am damn sure not an expert. And with my dirt bike sitting in Texas for 10 years while I was in California, and I rode that dirt bike at the ranch a little bit just down to Senderos. It's one thing to ride a dirt bike down a smooth dirt road. All of a sudden, you start going on climbs, descents. You get to some technical stuff with this hard pack and loose pack and all this damn rocks and boulders and stuff out here. Mister, it's a whole different ball game. So my punk ass, it's probably a good thing we canceled the motorcycle ride, but I was really looking forward to it. So maybe I'll be able to get all my work in and go out there by myself tomorrow because I want to get some more riding in before we have to head back to the main streets of Los Angeles coming up here this weekend. I guess today I will be relegated to doing home duties, and I'm still trying to set up my shop out there. I got a compressor, got a toolbox. I need to get some open-end wrenches, some box-end wrenches, a better set of sockets. I've got a couple of sets of sockets, but I just got to restock everything. I left all my tools at the Broken Skull Ranch down there until, and when I sold, I conveyed all the tools to those guys. And, once you go to start rebuying tools, it's like, God dang, you forget how expensive they are. But I'll get my tools, get all set up so I can work on some of my own stuff here in the shop. And what I need actually is some of them big-ass storage racks, those shelves that Home Depot and Costco carry. So I'm going to go to each store, make sure I like the racks so I can get all my stuff off the floor and onto a shelving system so I can maintain some kind of organization over in that shop. I got all my buggies in there. I got my 88 Dodge Ram Charger, 95 Ford Bronco, a couple of Mule Pro FXs, FXT, my Brute Force 750 and my dirt bike, a KLX 450, and hell, man, I got my jet ski in there. I can't wait for summer to come. It's damn near here. I'm fixing to take that jet ski and wear it out because I tell you what, when I had that thing in Los Angeles and was bobbing around out there like a cork in the Pacific Ocean, that wasn't exactly my idea of fun. So now that I have access to so many lakes out here with a stone's throw of my house, I'm going to take that dang 310LX out there and ride the hell out of it. That's a supercharged 1,500cc motor with 310 horsepower, and that's the most powerful personal watercraft prowling the waters today, as far as I know. So anyway, I'm looking forward to getting that thing out there. I've had it a while now and hadn't been able to get near the use out of it that I would have liked. But anyway, that's another story for another day when summer comes. But nonetheless, man, my guest today is the big show. You sent in the questions at SteveAustinShow.com. We didn't get a chance to answer all those questions, but I appreciate everybody sending them in. And if you have anybody else you want me to interview or talk to on the podcast, please send me your suggestions at SteveAustinShow.com.
Hey, this is Adam Carolla from the Adam Carolla Show. Bowl season is here, and BetOnline gives you more ways to play. The latest odds, breaking news, live scores, and in-game betting. So you never miss a moment of college football, bowls, NFL playoff races. It's all there all the time. Every bowl matchup, NFL, late season games, all the way to NBA hardwood battles, college hoops, tip-offs. BetOnline has you locked in all year long. And if you love UFC fights and NHL futures, BetOnline is the place to get in on all of the action. And when it's time to switch gears, dive into BetOnline's casino, packed with hundreds of the hottest slots, classic table games, live dealers, and massive jackpots waiting to be hit. And don't forget the VIP program with exclusive level up bonuses, weekly cash boosts, and rewards designed for serious players. Head to BetOnline today, because at BetOnline, the game starts here.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
You got some time to answer some questions that the fans sent in?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Here's a question that came in from Jacob Piggott. Maybe I mispronounced his name. It could have been Peugeot. He said, hey, man, I just finished a documentary.
Sorry, Jason.
Parlez-vous français? I just finished a documentary on Andre that HBO is showing. They mentioned that Andre put off having surgery for his acromegaly, and that shortened his life considerably. Did that influence Show's decision in regards to treatment and health? What about other lifestyle choices? Thanks, Jacob.
That's a great question, Jacob, because when I found out that I had acromegaly, I was in college. I was 19 years old. I never heard of it, never knew anything about it. I always thought that my size and strength and being the freak that I was as an early teenager, I mean, I was 313 pounds, about a 5% body fat, slept about 4 hours a night. And, I could play 3 hours of basketball, eat a whole pizza, walk back across the street, play another 3-4 hours of basketball, and digest it and do it all. I was eating 15,000 calories a day. I kept my parents perpetually broke just trying to keep me fed. I remember reaching in the fridge and grabbing hands of hamburger meat raw and just putting pepper on it and eating it, salt and pepper. And my mom would freak out. She said, what are you doing? That's for supper. I said, I'm hungry. She said, you're going to cook it? I said, I just want to eat it. So when I found out I had a tumor, it was the team doctor at Wichita State. And he said, I think you have acromegaly. They sent me to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. And then, I find out that, the reason I have all this size and strength and bone density and stuff is because of because of an abnormality. And they could fix it. They say the statistic was back then that 177 kids a year graduate from high school with acromegaly, which is something that I didn't know. I think the surgeries now are very standardized on treatment. There's some treatment that can be done with radiation because it's basically a tumor, non-malignant. It's not cancerous. It's just a growth that presses on the pituitary gland that secretes more growth hormone than normal. But they can go in now, excise the tumor, do very little damage to the pituitary gland because these guys are amazing surgeons and they can just lace that thing right off and just like, skinning a catfish, you know what I mean? Usually come out without any side effects. The pituitary gland runs nasal tears, a lot of hormones in your body that if the surgery's done wrong, it could cause a lot of complications. Back when Andre probably found out about it, I don't know how advanced the surgeries were. I don't know what the options were. And I'm sure Andre had the same feelings and apprehensions that I had knowing I had it. One, when you're younger, you think, oh, well, you probably won't live past your 40s if you don't have this fixed. Well, when you're 19 or 20, you think your mid-40s are a long time away. Well, bam, here I am now, and I still want more out of life. That's why I changed my diet to get healthier, to enjoy life a lot longer. But I think there's a little bit of trepidation in knowing that this blessing, this gift could be taken away, and it's going to cause changes. I mean, and it did for me. I mean, it went from being super lean and shredded and not being able to gain a pound. Of course, that's youth as well, to then constantly having trouble with diet and exercise and maintaining weight and stuff like that, because the weight that normally for growing up my whole life would just evaporate now stayed. You know what I mean? And I think it wasn't until I got older and made a commitment to my nutrition and learned how to eat properly that I was able to make a change that way. But for the longest time for me, it was a struggle with the weight. But as far as the surgery goes, I think at the time that Andre had the option to probably get it fixed, he was probably, you don't know, hindsight's not 20/20. If he got it fixed, he may have lived longer. He may not have. You know what I mean?
He was living pretty hard, man. I mean, when you think about, it's kind of like one of those things where in the locker room or just going down the road, a lot of people said Andre was drinking because he was in so much pain. Or I truly think he just I don't know what I can speculate. I think he enjoyed drinking. I think he did it to self-medicate as well. But dude,
I think emotionally, a lot of it emotionally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you drink that much for that long. I mean, that beer, that wine, it just bloats you. And, Andre got pretty heavy from all that. I mean, if night in, night out, year after year like he was, that's got to cut you short.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is Andre stopped working. You know as well as I do, how many old timers have we known that worked, and then you see them a year after they stopped working, and they look like they just crumbled and fell apart.
Right.
Because they're not bumping every night. They're not doing the exercise that they did every night. And that's the important thing, is to keep moving. If Andre had the problems with his ankles and his knees and his back that he was having, they didn't have the information, I don't think, back then to say, hey, we need to do more physical therapy, you need to work more, we need to keep the weight off. I think there were things to be done. As far as the alcohol really tearing up Andre, I don't know, because it's a different level when you're this big. When you got a liver the size of a Buick and kidneys the size of, small children, you can process a lot more alcohol than anyone else can. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's a thing to be proud of or a good thing, but it's also just a fact. You can process more. Your body has a better filtration system. Now, as much as Andre could drink, he was European. He grew up small. When he was younger, wine was at the table. Beer was a normal thing. You know what I mean? So he probably grew up already building a tolerance. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much the alcohol had affected him, and this is my speculation, whereas just the fact that his organs never stopped growing, his heart never stopped growing, his intestines never stopped growing, his bones never stopped growing. So his bones are getting denser and thicker, and the joints are losing mobility, and he's in pain, and, all of that. And who knows if Andre was sleeping enough too. Some of the pictures there in that documentary towards the end, when he went over to see his father, when his father passed away, Andre looked tired. He looked run down. Now, obviously that was a very trying time, and I'm sure he was distraught and upset. You know what I mean? But who knows? You know, the one that got me on that whole documentary is the interview that Timmy White did when Timmy White started getting upset, because I'm pretty good friends with Timmy, and you know, Timmy's a hell of a guy, and Timmy and I were doing an appearance somewhere, and he started to tell me about Andre passing away alone. He started getting upset. And you know the boys, we're not going to let another guy get upset. We're going to help him get through it. I said, Timmy, if I was dying, you would not be the last person I'd want to see. And he said, let me tell you something, you big jackass. If you were dying, I'd probably be the one choking you. You know what I mean? But I made Timmy laugh that, and that was a couple of years ago. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago that Timmy and I had that talk. And then they brought that up in the interview, and I couldn't talk to my friend Timmy when he started crying about losing Andre like that. And that got me harder than anything, because I didn't realize how much my life really paralleled Andre a lot. I know we talk crap on TV and Storyline and Giants, and everybody comes up and say, oh, you remind me of Andre. Okay, I'm still me. But when I saw about Andre walking through the airports and everyone staring and not being able to fit in hotels and not being able to fit in cars, and just the troubles that Andre went through on a day-to-day basis, you know, and the fact that wherever he went, he was a spectacle. You know, and I understand that. I've learned to handle things differently. You know, I engage people. I make them laugh. You know, Andre went the other way with it. Andre was kind of bitter. He didn't want to sign autographs. He didn't want to deal with people. He didn't want to deal with the attention. You know, there's 2 ways you can handle it. Some days I get like that. I just stay home. You know, I know, okay, today I'm going to be a grumpy ass, so I'm going to stay home. I try not to make people have a bad day by interacting with them. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, if you've been around me, you know I can be a real asshole sometimes. I am. I mean, I'm a human being. Some days I'm grumpy. Some days I'm introverted. I get it. I'm a human being. But usually out and about, I try to be nice and patient with everyone. You know, and luckily now there's cell phone cameras, so it's not like I have to find a pencil or find a piece of paper or any of the stuff like we did back in the day. You know what I mean? Now it's a selfie and it's 25 seconds and everybody has a good experience and rolls on.
Do you ever get tired of just because everybody's always looking at you? If you go back a couple of years, and I talked about this on a podcast a couple of years ago, the one time you and I were taking our own flights, we had kind of changed the travel from everybody else that was over in Germany or Europe for WWE. And I was traveling with you. And about that time, I was the hottest thing on 2 feet in the wrestling business. Woo. And
the only reason I got to change my travel is because I was booking it and you were doing it. Otherwise, I'd have to take those crappy flights too. So the fact that I talked you into it, or you agreed to do it, I got to do the change of travel. So you had stroke back then.
The thing about it was, like I said, I was white hot in the business, and dude, I would just walk in your wake, and no one. I'm 6'1", I used to be 6'2", 250, 260. But, you know, I can kind of blend in. And, dude, with your big ass walking up there, no one said shit to me. No one looked at me. It was all about you, which I was way cool with. But now it's still like that. I mean, I know because you've been on television for so long and millions, you know, a worldwide audience knows who you are. But you're always going to get those people who don't know or don't watch WWE or our industry, and all of a sudden, here you are, you know, with all due respect, a freak of nature. And do you ever get tired of all the attention or just the gawking, or is it like, hey man, this is what it is and this is who I am?
I think when I was really young, like I was 6'9" at 15, I was insecure about it because I felt very freakish. It wasn't until I became a really good athlete, I found a way to interact with people and not necessarily ignore it, but try to be a little bit more gracious about it, because I don't want to carry, I mean, you know me, I'm relatively a nice guy. I don't want to carry all that anger and that hate and that in my heart. That's just not who I am. I mean, I'll forgive people for saying stuff all the time. And people you have to understand their position. They've never seen anybody like me. As long as some of those people live, they will tell the story about the one time they saw the Big Show in Tim Hortons or 7-Eleven, you know what I mean, buying a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Or they saw a Big Show in the airport. And, you know, when I think about the stories that I've heard, I mean, my dad told me a story a long time ago. He was in an airport, and this guy sat next down at the airport. It was a little diner in an airport somewhere. My dad was a private pilot. And this guy sat down next to him, and they had coffee and, you know, talked about, you know, because there was a storm coming in, talked about the storm. And my dad legitimately thought that he was another pilot that he'd seen somewhere. You know, he was a bigger guy because my dad was 6'4", but this guy was kind of big too. But my dad just thought, hey, he's a pretty cool guy, another pilot, and my dad shook hands and the guy says, no, I'll get meals on me. Thanks for the conversation. So, my dad left, and it wasn't until my dad thought about it like a couple hours later, he'd been sitting with John Wayne the whole friggin' time. You know what I mean?
Really?
So as a kid, I was enamored by the story that my dad, my dad was born in 1930, so he was 40 when I was born. So here's my dad sat down and had basically steak and eggs and coffee with John Wayne in a diner in an airport. You know what I mean? So, but the fact that John Wayne was cool to my dad and talked to him, interacted with him, and here's, somebody that, who's not a John Wayne fan? You know what I mean? Especially, in my household growing up. So that always stuck out in my head. And then there's stories of those that weren't nice, and we're all human. There's some times where, hey, I don't have time, but you try to be nice about it. Now, I try to hope that I give people a good experience because I want to be somebody that people hopefully talk about fondly. They had a good experience meeting me. Because that's the thing. I think a lot of days with internet and as smart as everybody is now, there's a little bit of magic that's missing in the world. There's a little bit of that special magic that's missing that I don't know if I can quantify it to explain it, but I hope that I can help create that when people meet me. I'm not a saint. I'm sure there's a lot of people that say I was a complete jackass at some point in my life. And I'm sure if I wanted to pick up my rental car and instead of getting an SUV, it was like a compact, I'm sure I was a jackass. But, you know what I mean? But, all in all, I just try to handle it differently because I don't want to carry all that anger and frustration. It's just not what I want to carry with me.
Hey, man, on this line of Andre the Giant type stuff, Matthew Mason from Auburndale, Florida says, what was it like being billed as the son of Andre the Giant when he first started in WCW?
It was awkward. It was very awkward.
I would
because,
imagine.
I know Hogan and Bischoff came up with this idea, and that's why Hogan, latched on me right away, and that's why I got a career and opportunity, and I'm thankful that he noticed me. Because you remember back then, you couldn't just go to a wrestling school or sign up on the internet. It was like getting in the mafia. You had to know somebody to get in to get trained. It was a very select business to get into back then. And it wasn't quite as, open door policy as it is now. And the fact that Holt took the time and set this up, and here I'm making, in WCW, even though compared to what a lot of guys are making, I'm still making more money than my father ever made. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to be here. I'm with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson and Paul Orndorff and Sting and Hogan and Savage and, Luger. I'm with all these guys that are just, legends in the bit. I remember when you had long hair and you were one hell of a bumping machine back then. I remember Dallas Page telling me, he can be a little grumpy sometimes, so don't bother him, but, he's a real cool dude. You should say hi to him. And I knew who you were, obviously, because I watched you. But you were always cool to me, and I appreciate that. I was probably annoying as hell being a rookie, but I appreciate it. But to go as that son of Andre, yeah, it gave me credibility with the fans, but on one hand, it's kind of a real crappy trick to pull on the fans because everybody loved Andre so much, and it cornered me into a position because I still have fans that will come up to me to this day and tell me how much they love my dad. And they love watching my dad. And they're, you love watching my dad work on planes? I don't know you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, my dad could roof a hell of a house sometimes. You know what I mean? My dad was a hardworking man. He wasn't famous for anything. So, but I nod and say thank you because I don't want to kill that magic. You know what I mean? If they still believe, then, who am I to, tell them the Easter Bunny's, really a raccoon or whatever.
Yeah, but it had been tough because, when they brought in Lance Von Erich, there are the people that are really in the know, and they say, okay, come on, man. We know that's not Andre's son, but you're the guy that's got to play that part.
I don't think with the internet today, I don't think that gimmick would even be attempted because, the fans are too much in the know now. But I think back then there was a little bit of mystery. But from a working standpoint, it was tough for me too because right away and you remember what kind of an athlete I was back then. I could do some really ridiculous stuff, and you guys used to bitch at me all the time for doing too much stuff because the business wasn't ready for somebody my size to do some of the things that I did. But it also pigeonholed me into a gimmick that I think Hogan wanted for me. I think Hulk wanted me to have that attraction gimmick like Andre to that's where Hogan saw the money, was me as an attraction. But with my enthusiasm and athleticism, you know, I never wanted to be Andre the Giant. I wanted to be, for lack of a better words, I wanted to be Arn Anderson. I wanted to be a great worker. I wanted to be able to bump and feed baby faces. I wanted to be, you know what I mean, which is completely asinine at 7 foot tall, 500 pounds to want to be like Arn Anderson. But you know what I mean? I think, you know, now that I'm older, I don't know if I'm any wiser, but now that I'm older, I see where that gimmick was hard for me, but it gave me credibility off the bat. It gave me a sense of identity, which when we're all starting out in professional wrestling, we're trying to look for something that gives us an identity and allows us to develop who we are. And I think without being the Giant and going through what I experienced there with the NWO and all the characters that I got to work with in WCW to come to WWE, to working with all of you guys and learning how to really work for someone my size, not just go out there and do stuff, but actually go out there and work. I can't complain, man. I'm blessed and thankful. I feel like, personally, I feel like I'm one of the luckiest guys on the planet because I've worked with the greatest talent this industry's seen in the past 40 years. You know, I've pretty much been in the ring with all of them. And from the new guys to some of the older legends. And, you know, for a guy that grew up in South Carolina, a wrestling fan, I still get excited when I see Bullet Bob Armstrong at WrestleMania. I drive Scotty to absolutely nuts and Road Dogg. I said, is Bullet coming? Because Bullet Bob Armstrong was me and my dad's favorite growing up. Like, we watched Georgia Championship Wrestling, you know, and the Armstrongs were our favorite, Bullet Bob and Brad, you know, and then I see, you know, this last WrestleMania, for God's sake, you know, we were there in New Orleans, and I'm talking to Bullet Bob in the lobby, and he knew I was from South Carolina, and I about peed myself because Bullet Bob knew I was from South Carolina.
But, you know, if you go back to the Hall of Fame,
I'm still a fan.
If you go back to Hall of Fame, back in the day, I can't remember 5, 6, 7 years ago when he got inducted in the Hall of Fame, dude, one of his promo was one of the best that night.
Yeah, he was so good back then. Just good. He was one of the man's men back then. Like, he knew he was straight up. He was a worker, and he was one of those kind of guys that, and that's why I always loved Arn Anderson too, because when I'd see those guys on TV, I always thought like when I was 11 or 12, I cut grass to get a ticket. The Four Horsemen were coming to Columbia, South Carolina, the township. And usually wrestling tickets, I think, were $6 general admission. And I think ringside was $12. And so I cut grass, and I'd made $8 cutting grass. And I was like, well, heck, I'll get a ticket and I'll get a drink. Perfect. And I rode my bicycle to Columbia Township. My mom had gone to work, and I pulled my bicycle out of the trunk of a car, rode my bike about 4 miles to the township. Because the Four Horsemen in town, general admission was like $10, and I think ringside was like $16 or something like that. Like, it was like, you know, the Horsemen in town, business is up. You know what I mean? But I just remember I didn't have enough money to get in, so I stood there by the fence, 6'2" at 11, 12 years old. I probably looked like some kind of mongoloid in a bicycle, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but I was 12, and I remember Arn Anderson got out of a town car, I believe it was, big Lincoln town car, and he had the gold chain on and the rose-colored glasses, had a bag over his shoulder and a polo shirt, and he just looked like the meanest son of a gun I've ever seen in my life. Like, you know, Arn's what, maybe 6 foot tall, right. 5'10", 5'11". At 12 years old, I thought he was a foot taller than I was. You know what I mean? And even though I was, you know, probably 40 yards away from him, I'm looking at him going, look how big he is, look how mean he looks. And I remember going back to school telling all the kids that the enforcer, Arn Anderson, was the meanest son of a gun I ever seen in my life. Like, I was such a huge fan of Arn Anderson as a heel. And
well, also because of the mystique of the business back then, and because you were such an impressionable age. I mean, those to me, I mean, like when I'm looking at those guys and, you know, going to the world famous sportatorium to sign in to wrestling school, I mean, I'm looking at these guys like those guys are the coolest guys walking the planet. It's just it was an interesting time. But speaking of Double A stepping out of a limousine, Raymond sends a question in, and I know you're big car guys guys. So here's this question. Does Big Show have to customize a car that he fits in comfortably? If so, what is it? If not, what is the vehicle that he drives on a normal basis? Because now I'm going back to the Andre the Giant thing. Dude, one time he squeezed into that, I think it was a little white car in the front seat, and he just looked miserable trying to get in that car, and then it showed him on on an airliner. I know back in the day you were heavy into fixing up those Lincoln Navigators. So what are you into these days as far as the automotive stuff?
Well, I've lost all the weight. So, actually Yukon Denali fits, but I order it without the sunroof package because if the sunroof's in, I just don't have enough headroom. That's the thing. I'd love to get an Escalade, but they don't come without the sunroof package. So, and plus the Escalade's a little bit narrower on the inside, believe it or not. So I went with the Yukon Denali, the longer one, kind of like the Suburban. I fit in the passenger seat or the driver's seat. My personal truck that I drive is I have a 2004 Viper truck 6-speed. That's they only made one year, the 2-door 6-speed Viper truck, and I just had it redone. I had it lowered, and I had some rims put on it, and went through the engine and did some paint work and black matted it out. And it's got 16,000 miles on it, and every now and then I like to take it out and drive it because I fit in it, and it's just a hell of a performance machine to drive. And then if I want to get real nostalgic, I have a 1966 Hemi Charger that's, I think, one of 9. So it's a black on black Hemi Charger, but I've pro-streeted the motor out, probably close to 650 horsepower and Wildwood brake systems all the way through it. And I've got cutouts on the exhaust so I can go straight pipes at the drag strip. Even though I'm not drag racing anywhere, but it cam and lopes and, it sounds like Godzilla in the China shop. So it's a pretty monstrous beast. But, I've loved that 66 Charger style. It's not the Dukes of Hazzard style. It's before that real long, it's a real long sloping back window, and it's kind of, it's just sexy to me. The lines on it are sexy. And she's a real beast. So that's what I have right now. So I'm looking now for something now. I don't know if I want to get a truck. I don't know. I think probably I'm going to get myself a newer pickup truck, just a 4x4 for, carrying bikes if I want to go biking and stuff like that, or some of the paddle boards if I want to go out to the beach or something. So I kind of want to get a pickup truck. I had an F350 for a while. It was a great truck, that big turbo diesel F350. I enjoyed that, but I had an 8-foot bed on it. So parking it, I needed somebody to, get out there with a couple of flags and help guide me in like I'm parking the 747.
Man, and you're preaching to the choir on that one, because when you started listing your vehicles, our personal vehicle that we bought to drive back and forth to, Nevada from Los Angeles is a Yukon Denali XL, and it's got the 6.2 motor, and that motor is an absolute blast. It's 420 horsepower. Yeah. I definitely did not want the 5.3, and this thing is loaded to the gills, and it has the sunroof. Right. Dude, I'm not your height, but I just don't like having that losing the 3 to 4 inches, whatever they take up. I don't like, and I'm never going to roll that thing down. It adds wind noise, so I just do not like them. Yeah. But dude, it's one of my favorite vehicles that I've ever bought. That's how much I like that Yukon XL, and it's a 2000, I guess, 17 or 18.
Yeah, that's the same as mine. Love it too. Great performance.
Drives like a dream.
Drives like a dream. It'll get up and go too. Like, it doesn't have any problems passing, but it's comfortable. But yeah, without that sunroof, it gives me, and I got the captain's chairs in the back, so it's a little more comfortable back there, not the bench seat. But I really dig that Yukon. I really do. I was actually looking at that GMC Denali pickup. They got one down here at the dealership down here that I'm pretty hot and horny for. It's got a lift kit on it and tires and everything. Plus, got the doggone sunroof in it. The pickup truck comes with a sunroof, and I'm just like,
dude,
something about a pickup truck with a sunroof kills the idea of it being a pickup truck. Maybe I got too much redneck blood in me, but if you put a sunroof in a pickup truck, then you're not really should be driving a pickup truck.
Dude, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because last, I guess 2-3 weeks ago, I finally decided, you know what, I've been talking about it on the podcast. I decided I was going to go ahead and get a new truck. Well, I didn't. We got that Yukon Denali XL, and we came up here to Nevada, and I have my 2003 half-ton Chevy Z71 with that 5.3 motor that I dislike. It just they don't pull anything worth a damn. But I love my pickup truck.
It's numbered and a pounded thumb. Yeah,
I'll never sell it.
5.3 is strong enough. Yeah.
So I start looking around, and I'm looking at all these. What got me there was a GMC Denali pickup with the lift kit and all that other stuff on there. But the store manager was driving that, and he never made it available for me to drive. So I got into one of those long bed pickups with the 8-foot box, just like you were talking about. And in this particular model, and this is a Duramax, it's a Chevy. And I said, hey, man, I looked up and I said, this thing doesn't have a sunroof. I said, I love that because I got so much more headspace now. So I said, okay, now it's all changed. I said, I want something loaded, but I don't want the sunroof on there. So he said, all right, I don't know. They probably looked over a 3 or 4 or 5 state area. And they finally rustled up exactly, what I wanted. It was a Duramax 3/4 ton, 6.5 foot bed because I drove that long and I said, man, if my wife has to take this to Zumba class, she's going to have hell parking it. And
she's going to. Going to. So you just factor that in. That's going to happen.
So I had the Z71 package, no sunroof, white. It's the best looking pickup truck I've ever owned. Like I said, I still got the old one. That's the one I take when I'm dragging my ATVs back and forth to where I ride. But when I go on my hunting trips and I got my Kawasaki Mule and my utility trailer with that Duramax, I mean, you can pull anything. You don't know it's back there. But to your point, dude, 6.5 foot box, which I was a little bit mad about because my ATV, my Brute Force 750, I couldn't put the tailgate all the way. I couldn't shut the tailgate. That disappointed me by about 2 inches. Missed it by that much. But I could not have a sunroof in there, and it took me, they're as rare as hen's teeth, but I ended up finding one. So I'm on the same page with you on the Yukon XL and on the pickup truck. If you decide to go get one, dude, I found one, and it's hard to find. I got an LTZ Z71.
Is that the one? Does that have the Allison transmission in it too?
Oh yeah. I got it. It's Allison transmission, and I think that's the only thing that they sell that thing with. But absolutely got to have that.
For your ATV, they got that guard that clips on the back that kind of extends the bed out to the tailgate.
I was looking at those things that go into the receiver hitch.
Yeah. No, not the receiver hitch. It clips right like with the tailgate down. It puts like a cage, kind of like a metal tubing frame around the back of your tailgate. Clips on the inside of your bed, so that when you have something that's a little bit longer that's sticking out, you know what I mean. A little bit's going to tailgate, but it won't slide all the way out the back because you've got that frame that goes around. It's I don't know how. I think it'll work for carrying your ATV. I wouldn't run around with it all the time. I mean, you probably look like a dumbass wearing a cowboy hat to a swimming pool. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But if you're using it, it might be just because I know what you're saying. For peace of mind, you don't want the ass of your ATV hang out in the back of your truck. Peace of mind, you want everything buttoned up. So I dig that. Yeah, it's funny because I'm just trying to figure out now, and it's like a lot of these pickups they look really big, and they're just not. Especially for me, because like I get in, but there's so many accoutrements with the thick doors and all that stuff that once you shut the door, I mean, there's no room in here. I feel like I'm leaning to the right because I can't lean to the left because, my shoulders are too wide. So, definitely I'll take a look at that down the road. What'd you say? Is that Z71 package?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just because it's got the different shocks, it's got the skid plates underneath it, and I just figured, dude, my old one was a Z71.
I love the looks of that Ford Raptor. I looked at one of those Raptors and was like, damn, that's a good looking pickup truck. They have one all done up, the dealership down here in Miami. And granted, I'm living in Miami, but the guy said to me with a straight face, he says, "Yeah, we'll only mark it up $12,000 for you." I said, "What? You'll only mark it up for $12,000?" I said, "Buddy, that's the wrong way to start a sales pitch. Peace. I'll see you later."
Dude, I was in line.
Mark it up. Do I have Mark written on my forehead? Like I used to sell cars, you dumbass.
That was on my list of things to drive, but man, with that 3.5 Ecotech, it was just turbocharged, whatever. And it's a really short bed. I thought everybody that I've talked to, I was at a shooting range the other day, and I said, "Hey man, how do you like that thing?" He goes, "I absolutely love it. Best pickup I've ever bought." But, for what I'm going to be doing out here, like I said, I'm going to get a toy hauler. I'm going to be pulling that and pulling my buggies around.
Right.
So, and obviously, that Raptor is an absolute beast. But, I had to.
You're doing a different thing.
Dude,
you got the bigger motor, the Allison transmission, the beefed up Z71. It makes a lot more sense. And you got it with no sunroof. See, I think those Raptors come with a sunroof too, don't they?
I don't know, dude. I'm just allergic to the sunroof. Let me get to another question here. It says, hey, Steve, my question to both of you, who do you think will be the next breakout superstar for the WWE? I think it will be Elias. Thanks for answering my question, Kevin Durkin. Breakout superstar coming up in the WWE NXT system. Big Show?
I think he's dead on the point with Elias. I think Elias has a lot of good things for his future ahead of him. One, he's a good kid. Two, he's a hard worker. The old saying is he's got a hell of a body on him, but he's done a lot of things right. They built him along the way. They haven't had him beat a lot of people. He's earned his wins. He's done his losses. Like, he's building a good, solid foundation. With television today and the way things go, and with all the internet involvement, I think it's really hard to build characters now, because a lot of times you can't build like we used to back in the day. Back in the day, you could have a 5-6 month build with a guy and really get him over. You can't do that now. Nowadays, these guys got like 3 or 4 weeks, and then, they'll change directions and go different ways with them, whether that's the talent's fault or that's creative's fault. I don't know. I would look for a lot of breakout stars also. I know probably think I'm crazy, but you look at the women's division. You know what I mean? Good, googly moogly. They have stepped up the competition so much. I mean, you see the matches that Charlotte's having and the stuff that she's doing. I mean, thank God I'm not following her right now. I mean, she is just laying it down. Talk about a complete change from her when I knew her when she was, in her teens and when she was in college, and now the commitment that she's made and how she's doing. I'm just blown away by the talent she has. I mean, but I think Elias is a good pick. He really is.
I think so too, man. I like the kid. He's quick-witted. He's got the dry, sarcastic delivery, the perfect gimmick. Yeah. He's got a good look. He came over to the crib. He's a lot bigger than it looks like on TV, and he looks like $1 million bucks on television.
But he's pretty thick when you get up in person.
Oh, he's thick. He's got traps up to his ears. So the kid likes to shrug. Yeah. But no, he's got a good mind for the business. He's been around. He's got experience under his belt. As long as they keep shoving him, keep that rocket on him. I mean, he'll be able to weather the storm and the waters because the kid can go. But, I see a lot of upside to that guy.
Yeah, when I look at guys that can go, I look at guys that can get everybody over. That's why, somebody like me or somebody like Braun doesn't make a great champion. Sure, is it fun that they win the championship? Absolutely. But as well as I do, when you wear that damn championship, it's not about getting yourself over. You got to bring people up to your level. And you need somebody that's a carpenter, and there's somebody that can work, somebody that can do it all, bump, feed, sell, get heat, shine, make a comeback. It's A to Z, and there can't be any holes in their game if they're going to be somebody that's going to, carry that title and bring people up around them. I mean, that's why John, for so long, always had that title for so long. It's because John had the ability to work and bring people up around him. People got better by stepping in the ring with him. People got better by stepping in the ring with you. People get better by stepping in the ring with Triple H. Those are signs of what a true champion should be. You know what I mean? I mean, Braun's great at being a destroyer right now. And again, we get back to the sympathy. I mean, Braun's probably one of my favorite performers. Braun Strowman, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Finn Balor are probably my 4 favorite guys on TV right now. I love those 4 guys. They're tremendous. Finn Balor, because I just think he's one hell of a good guy and one hell of a performer. And Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, because they're one of the only 2 old school guys left that are young that understand tag team wrestling. You know what I mean? I think a lot of that tag team division is just turned into crap on some things, it's you do your crap, I'll do my crap, here's the finish, there's a save. You can almost predict it to the point of, I miss the old days of that babyface waiting on the apron to get that hot tag. And when he got that hot tag, he made a comeback on both heels, because that was the frustration as a fan. You wanted to see that one fresh guy beat the crap out of those 2 heels. And that's a little bit lacking now, because it's tough for a tag team now to go out and really get any heat, because a lot of the tricks that we used to use back in the day, they can't use now. So it's a lot harder for them to get the heat. But in the tag team division, I like Luke and Carl, because they can make any tag team look good. Now, as far as entertaining, you got to go with, Big E, Kofi, and Xavier, because those three guys is a funny story. Years ago, when Kofi told me he was doing that New Day gimmick, I pulled Kofi about 4 feet to the side right in front of Xavier Woods and Big E, and I asked him, so what the hell are you doing? Because you know how you talk to me about business, you know, and Taker would talk to me about business. I learned and I passed that along with guys that I help. I mean, I'm not polite about it. I'm direct and blunt to the point. When it comes to business, it's serious. You know what I mean? So I pulled Kofi about 4 feet to the side. I said, what in the hell are you doing with these two numbnuts? He says, oh, it's a thing. We're trying to say, damn, Kofi, you're an Intercontinental Champion. You're on the way to having a run at the big strap. Like, you know, you don't need to drag yourself down with a couple of NXT idiots right now. I mean, you know, you're really probably going to hurt yourself. You know, you're pulling yourself out of that championship title run. Holding the Intercontinental Championship's a pretty big deal. You keep in that loop, and then eventually you get a shot at the big one. And he goes, no, you just, you know, I appreciate it, Show. He says, well, we got a good thing going here. And I said, all right, man. So I'm just telling you, you know, running around these two idiots is not going to help you get over. Now, fast forward 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm watching the three of them work, and I'm watching their chemistry. So they all came through the curtain one night, you know, and I got kind of a reputation, I guess, being an old grumpy, you know, old man. I always say, don't go from zero to hero or hero to zero. Damn it, sell, tell stories, bridges. You know, I bitch about all the stuff that people in the business bitch about that young guys don't do. So they came through the back, and I pulled all three of them over. I said, hey, you remember that conversation we had a couple weeks ago? Kofi smiles. He goes, yeah. And I said, forget every damn thing I said. What you guys got is absolute friggin' magic. I love it. Forget every damn thing I said.
So were they cool when you hearing you say that?
Yeah, they were cool. Woods loves that story. I've called Woods my son now. Like I've adopted Woods as one of my wrestling sons. So he's one of my sons now. But yeah, I got a chance to work with those guys on a Europe tour a couple years ago. It was the Usos and I against New Day. And you know those Europe tours can get pretty grueling, and I wasn't in the main event on that tour, so I had a little bit more ability to have a little bit more fun. I mean, I stayed in character, but I got to have a little bit more fun. And I'll be damned if them son of a gun didn't crack me up in the first 20 seconds every night. That was their thing. It says, oh, we're going to get Big Show to pop within the first 20 seconds every night. And every night. Big E would just look at me sometimes, and I'd have to put my head down and bite the turnbuckle and just not look at him because I just get to giggle so bad. Hell, some big bad giant I am, I'm in the corner across from him giggling like I ain't got any sense. Like, what a great group of guys. And it was truly refreshing to see them take a vision that was given to them, a creative direction that was given to them, and they took that creative and then they evolved it and they made it better, I think, than anyone could have. And their attitudes are all great. You know what I mean? I mean, they go out there, they work hard every night, and they get the point of making sure those people have a good time and those people are glad they bought a damn ticket. That's the most important part. Sometimes these guys get wrapped up in trying to get themselves over too much. They forget the golden rule of what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is make sure those people come back next time and buy another ticket.
Those guys have really, like you said, they have great chemistry. They've turned into a great tag team. But, man, I tell you what, man, the Usos, when they first came in a while back, wearing the skirts, I don't understand. I forget the name of it. But now,
I think
those guys have really matured and turned into an outstanding tag team.
Outstanding tag team. And here's the thing, and they grew up in the business. So they're going to have that second, third generation natural absorption from being in the business. But, that's another example of Vince, and WWE gives you the opportunity and gives you a chance. They give you an idea to go with something. And then if you feel confident in what you're doing and you develop that, you can turn that into something that's you. And the Usos have really turned it on to great tag team excellence, great tag team execution. They're one of the top premier competitive tag teams, and they're great dudes.
I agree. You can see the confidence written all over them.
The confidence is the biggest thing now. I know when they first came in, they were still trying to figure out where they were, what they were doing, what they were about, but they were always really great kids backstage to work with. I had a tour with them one time where it was a 2-on-1 handicap years ago, And we just had an absolute blast working together and having fun. Not quite as bad as, Epico and Primo, the Cologne brothers, those two idiots I had so much fun with. Primo Cologne got in the ring one night. We were in France, that arena in France there, the one that's kind of like, 3/4 of it's stage. A quarter of it's like stage. So you kind of work into one side of the arena, slam packed. But we go out there and it's one of my last tours. So they're pretty happy to see me. When you've been over there a long time, it don't matter what you do. You raise your hand, they're going to chant Big Show. Like it's a great to have earned that respect. But I'm out there and all Primo and Epico did was bump and sell for them. I don't even think I fell down the whole tour. That was the object was that I didn't take one bump the entire tour, which was pretty great of those guys because, they're old school.
Yeah. But
I'm looking and Primo doesn't have his boots laced. And I'm looking at him as I'm chopping him in the corner. I said, what are you trying to tell me? Son, that you don't have enough respect for me to lace up your boots? He goes, no, brother, you're so easy. I don't have to lace up my boots. But he worked the whole match with his boots unlaced. He just had me dying laughing. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love in our business, is that magic and that camaraderie of night after night, and just the absurd silliness that only we catch on, but we're still giving the fans a great show.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Mark in Philadelphia says, you're one of the few guys who successfully transitioned from a main event guy to one whose main objective is to help younger guys get over. Was that difficult for you, and did you have to do anything different to accept that role? Thanks. And do you agree with that question?
That's a really great question. I think for me, I enjoyed the fact that I was honored to be, in that main event run. I mean, hell, I went from John Cena to Edge. I think I was in the hunt for the title. CM Punk, I was in the hunt for the title for like 4 years. I'd wrestle John Cena every 4 months. I'd wrestle Edge every 4 months, do a 2-3 month program and flip back and forth. I'd wrestle CM Punk, yeah, it's great being that hunt. It's great having two or three segments of TV that you're responsible for. But at the same time, being a giant, it's probably the worst thing that happens to me because it's overexposure. My uniqueness is gone when I'm on TV that much. The attraction factor is gone. Did I have fun doing it? Hell yeah, I had fun doing it. But at the same time, now I don't have anything to prove in this business, Steve. I have zero ego in this business. I've been fortunate enough to work with the best. I've been fortunate enough to learn my trade, know who I am, and know what I'm doing. I'm fortunate to still have my health to do it, and I have nothing to prove. I've had the titles, I've had the runs, I've had the heel pushes, the babyface run, tag team. I've done all that. So now, because I love this business and I love the fans and I love the guys in the locker room, I love just being out there with them. Yeah, if I can help them, absolutely. That's fun for me. You know what I mean? I really enjoy that aspect because for me, I don't have the pressure of trying to pull ratings. I don't have the pressure of trying to put asses in seats. That top main event spot, that pressure is real. And you know that. You lived it. You know what I mean? That's, when houses aren't full, the ratings aren't good, they're looking at you. So I don't have that pressure. Now I can go out and enjoy myself and have fun. I was working with Braun a couple of years ago. It was Kane and I against Braun and Eric Rowan. I think this is when he was still in the Wyatt family. And I was trying to help Braun a little bit with his timing because he's so athletic and so rambunctious. And hell, he's a former powerlifter. And if you're not careful, he'll run over you. You know what I mean? It's like, slow down, breathe. This is what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, don't mistake intensity for being in a damn hurry. Right. The same stuff that you told me 1,000 times and cussed me out for. I just want you to know I'm passing it along. So, so I'm in the ring and basically, I'm in with Eric Rowan. He's gotten me down. There's a little small heat on me. All Braun has to come in. As I get out of, Eric Rowan has me a leg hold. I drop a leg across his neck to get free. As I come up to my feet, he makes a tag to Braun. Braun comes in, levels me for a clothesline. Sets me up for a suplex. I block it, suplex him, make a little bit of a hot tag for Kane before we go to the big heat. Because you don't want to just tag Kane in, have him get heat. You want to create an advantage for him where there's a little something happening, then cut him down, And then, that's a timing thing. Like, all you got to do is come in, level me, go for the suplex. I'll block it, suplex you. There's the double down. I tag Kane, you feed up. Kane can come in, blow a little comeback, and then you be a monster and cut Kane off. But Braun's so excited to clothesline me, so excited to be in there with me. instead of just picking me up to go for the suplex, he clubs me across the back of the neck and the shoulder blades, and it was like getting hit by, a 2x4, which is fine. I can work stiff too, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. So I take the shot and I go suplex. So he picks me up by the head and kicks me in the stomach. Felt like he kicked my stomach through the back of my kidneys. It was a little stiff. That's okay. I said suplex. I go to get up again. He clubs me across the back of the neck again. I go suplex. Kane on the apron goes, he said suplex. Finally, he kicks me in the stomach again, and I thought he dropped one of my damn testicles. He kicked me so hard in the stomach. I sat right up on my knees, and you know how I do that chop on the chest?
Yeah.
I chopped him right in the twig and berries. Hit him right in the dick and balls. Just chopped him. I said, suplex, you deaf son of a bitch. Like that. And of course, he sold it right away. Then he gets it together and goes for the suplex. And then I cussed him. Then I explained why I wanted. Oh, I didn't hear you. I said, everybody in the first freaking 5 rows heard me. You didn't hear me? Quit believing your own hype that you're enjoying kicking my ass. Would you just listen to what we're doing?
Hey,
so, that's the fun story.
Hey, I was in a discussion the other day. In your opinion, you being relevant, current on the scene, just signed a 3-year deal. You're going to be around for a lot longer. You've been there forever in the business and with WWE. Great big men in the industry. Here's Braun Strowman. I saw him coming a couple of years ago. I had him on the podcast. I was enamored with the way he can talk, his personality, is very articulate.
Right.
He's a smart guy, former strongman. Right. He has a lot of qualities. But I was looking, and don't let me drag you into this, but, sometimes they're putting him in some kind of comedic situations. And
no.
What do you think is best for Braun Strowman? Because for me, the 6'1" guy, 250, mad at everybody, bald head goatee, Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, I was there to, talk trash and try to get that championship belt. And then, with the heel run, I went to some comedy stuff because I had 3 broke bones in my back. But, my point is, when I see Braun Strowman, man, I'm thinking, hey, man, he's the monster among men. I want to see him throttle people and, dazzle me with displays of strength and, determination and just being an all-around badass. Are they giving him too much levity, or what do you want to see out of him, or what do you expect out of him?
What I expect out of him is character development. I think that Braun does have that personality. I think Braun does have that ability. Has he set himself up so far as a viable powerhouse monster of men and a potential contender that could beat Brock Lesnar? Yes, because that's where we're at now. Who can beat Brock Lesnar? Brock Lesnar is no joke, no comedy, no ha-ha, no fun and games. He's a legit champ. Whoever beats Brock Lesnar is going to be made. And that's what you want out of somebody that drops the title. It's not passing the title like you're passing a volleyball back and forth across the net. Now whoever becomes a champion is somebody that's going to really have earned it through trial and fire. With Braun, I want to see him have his personality. I don't mind him doing some of the funny stuff because with today's audience, I don't think they're as glued in hardcore as they used to be. I don't think it's his traditional black and white heel and babyface. I think with Braun, he's got the unique ability to do some things that are entertaining and fun, but let's not overdo it. That happened a lot with me in WWE in the beginning, that because I could do impersonations, because I had comedic timing, we would do too much of it. And then by the time we were done, okay, well, we've lost the giant gimmick. Okay, let's turn him heel. He'll kill everybody, and we'll start over again. So now we can start drawing money with him. Because we know there's entertainment and then there's drawing money. It depends on how Braun goes further, whether or not he's going to be one of those guys that everybody loves to see, or is he going to be one of those guys with his name's on the billboard like Brock Lesnar? Is he going to draw money? I don't have the answer to that. I think in my heart of hearts, I hope that he finds a happy medium with being entertaining and as a face, having some positive interaction with the fans. But if at all possible, keep the mystique of the monster among men so that he's a constant viable threat. I want to see the right build with Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar and see what kind of a program that can be built if it's built right. Sometimes we hotshot things. Sometimes and you know how that works. Sometimes, Vince doesn't like the show and he changes it on Monday afternoon at 4:00. He changes it. And Vince puts out the best show that he can put out every night. You know what I mean? That's tough for some talent because, sometimes you can lose momentum by still doing something that's good, but it's not in the same direction as you were going before. So for me personally, yeah, I'd like Braun to stay the monster among men. I'd like for Braun to create that mystique because he's not 7 foot tall. He's not 500 pounds. He's not 450 pounds. He's 6'7", 6'8", 370 pounds. Guy's strong as a house. He's a tremendous athlete, tremendous talent, and he's a hell of a worker. He can legitimately work.
Absolutely.
He understands psychology. He understands heat. He understands how to sell as a big man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll pick up the phone and jump his ass when he's selling with his head down, looking like a drunk guy in the parking lot looking for his keys. I tell him to keep his head up. You know what I mean? But at the same time, considering where he's at and how much he's done, his aptitude for the business has been amazing. So now, me personally, yeah, I would like to see him be a little bit more protected, used a little bit more judiciously as far as what they do with him. Like, to me, I think with an athlete, especially in that environment today, because they don't have a lot of powerhouses in that environment that are awe-inspiring. I mean, you got Brock Lesnar that scares the hell out of everybody in the arena and backstage. You know what I mean? He's got the best backstage game since Hulk Hogan as far as freaking everybody out. You know what I mean? But I'd like to see Braun still be able to have that same presence so that people don't ever lose the fact when they hear that roar and that music hits and he comes down that ramp, they know that business is about to be done. I don't ever want to see him get to a point where, oh, we're going to get entertained. This is going to be fun. I don't want to see that out of Braun. I definitely do not.
Okay, I agree with you. Keep evolving the character.
Right.
A balance with everything, so that not too
balance,
much comedy.
but heavier on the monster side. Let's stick with what got us to the dance, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I was digging when he was turning ambulances and stuff like that over, and just so when he wouldn't pick the kid out of the crowd. For me, like you said earlier, and I can understand from a creative standpoint, but man, from the monster among men standpoint, I don't know, that didn't work for me. But anyway, let's not go there. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, he's a face. So basically, what I took from it was the fact that he gave the kid a dream, which is great. It's great for the fans, but he also proved to everybody he doesn't need a partner to win the titles. He's man enough to do it on his own. Now, what that does to your tag team division, that, your top tag team competitors can't beat one guy. I mean, you know how this business is. We can argue 50% one way, 50% the other way, and still come out not knowing what's right or wrong.
Right.
Point is, it's done. It came off. It's a memorable moment. Now let's go forward and create some more memorable moments for Braun, but in the right direction where he still is. That force to be respected when he steps through the ropes. I don't ever want to see Braun get into a spot where it's too much comedy. I mean, they kind of did that with me a little bit. They did that with Kane too. They get enamored with the fact that big guys that can be entertaining or big guys that can do things. But sometimes that gets overly done, and then it's really hard to reboot. You know what I mean? It's hard to reboot.
Yeah, once they've seen you go there, they're going to start expecting that kind of stuff out of you. And it's like, man. Hey, I got two more questions because I know we've been talking for close to 2 hours. I mean, I have probably 3 different questions about you changing your physique and getting in the shape that you're in. So, dietarily, dude, what have you done with your diet and what are you doing with your workouts? Because everybody just thinks you look like $1 million.
Well, to everyone that's noticed, thank you for the support and encouragement. Diet-wise, for me, it was just finding the right nutritional plan. And I think at some point when I get further along in my progress, because I'm still making changes and I'm still improving, I think when I'm ready, I'll share that with everyone. As far as the weight training goes, for me, it's just been a lot of volume, a lot of reps. I'm not, every now and then I'll do some heavy weight, but I'll do it safe. I mean, I did 405 with 3 reps. I mean, it was on the Smith machine because I got crappy shoulders, and it's the only way I can track it right without one shoulder walking off and leaving me. But, at the same time, I got a lot of miles on me. So I train smart now. But for me, it's just getting the volume. And when I'm in the gym, I'm not there to run for governor. I'm not there to be the most popular guy in the gym. I try to go when the gym's dead. And I put the heavy metal music on in my headphones or on the radio if no one's in there. And I dedicate, 50 minutes, hour and 20 minutes of weight training, pushing, pulling, focusing on what I'm training. If I'm training back, I'm squeezing my back. If I'm training triceps, I'm focusing on triceps. And I think that's the biggest difference for me is I really understand the mind-muscle connection now that I never did when I was younger. Like when I was younger, I'd go to the gym and I just move a whole bunch of weight. And okay, that's done. Move it for 10 reps. Okay. Well, sometimes now I might move it for 35, 40, 50 reps. And, I've done cable flies sometimes, and it took, 90 cable flies to get the feeling that I wanted to feel. I think that's how I'm gauging it now, that, I'm there to work a muscle. I'm there to fatigue the muscle. I'm there to, tear that muscle down so it, there's no ATP left so that it will, when I feed it, it will grow and get stronger. So I think that's the only thing that's different. Is my workouts are a lot more focused, a lot more intense. Not necessarily doing a whole bunch of heavy weight like I've got anything to prove, because I don't. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that can bench more than me, squat more than me, and I could give a flying fig and a rolling donut. Good for them. All I'm trying to do is make myself healthier, make myself better, and that's the way I attack my gym time.
How often will you hit a body part?
Healthy. Usually twice a week.
Really?
Twice a week. Yeah. So I'll usually do chest on Mondays and Fridays. I'll do back on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I'll do shoulders on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and usually and then usually not Wednesdays and Thursdays. I do Wednesdays shoulders. I'll do Wednesdays, and sometimes I'll mix them in sometime in between a little bit. If I do chest one day, I might add triceps in that one day. If I do back, I might add biceps in with the back, just depending. Or sometimes I might flip it around and just do a day of bis and tris where I'll get in, 280, 300 reps of biceps and triceps, just so I really cram the blood in there and get it done.
But that's unique because, you're working high frequency and you're also working high volume, and a lot of people would have a hard time recovering from that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's tough, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not on the road. I'm not
Correct.
working. Hell, all I got to do is, basically go home and eat and rest.
And are you counting calories at this stage of the game? I know Beth helps you with a lot of your meal prep.
Yeah, a lot of my calories right now, especially now, are really, really low because I still have fat. I have lower back fat. I have a little bit of fat on my love handles and stuff like that, and I still have thick skin in my upper chest. So, skin should be paper thin. So if it's not paper thin, then I hate to tell you this, it's fat underneath of it, So in order to get to that brown fat, which is the last bit to go, you have to really stress myself. And that's why I stress myself with a high volume, high reps type deal, because I'm really trying to make my body burn into those fat reserves. And I'm not a guy that's going to lose muscle. Like some guys have to get in 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight or they'll shrink. I did my ancestry DNA. I think I'm Scandinavian and Irish and a little bit English. So like I'm going to have muscle regardless of what I do. I'd probably be, if I was a crackhead, I'd probably still have muscle as a crackhead. You know what I mean?
Would you have any idea calorically what your total is on a daily basis? Ballpark.
On a daily basis, ballpark? I don't know, Steve. Maybe right now, probably today, I'm probably somewhere around 1,1700 today. That's probably about it.
Man, that's not very much for a guy your size.
Yeah, but I'm not really doing anything. I worked out, and then the rest of the day, like I had a good breakfast. I had eggs for breakfast, and I had Brussels sprouts, and after the gym, I had a protein shake to recover a little bit. I don't know how many calories in that. Probably, 150, 200 calories in a protein shake maybe. And then something later, I'll probably have some chicken later and some spinach maybe. So, but it'll definitely be under 2,000 today. You know what I mean? I think that's for me. I try to operate that way a lot. And then some days I'll switch it around. Some days, you know what I mean? Because the body will change all the time. Right now, I'm making myself burn the fat. And then some days I'll let in some carbs. I'll add in some red meat and stuff like that. And then, whatever my nutritional plan, whatever I'm doing for that day, however the meal plan comes out. And then I will spike it up a little bit.
Do you ever employ cardio?
For me is, I haven't been able to because of my hip.
Copy.
I've done all this through diet, through eating, through meal plans, and through through weight training. I think eventually I can start adding more cardio to this. I think it'll help. You know what I mean? Definitely. Because every little bit helps. But for me, it's just finding the right meal plan that has the right amount of calories per meal, depending on how many meals I'm trying to get in a day. Am I trying to get in 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day? And is it one of those days where, okay, today's going to be a really light day? You know what I mean? I think the other day, last week, I flew from Miami to New York, New York to Chicago, Chicago back to New York, and New York to Miami because the stuff I was doing. And, I didn't get to bring any of my meals with me. So I think I ate at 4:00 on one day and didn't eat again until 5:00 the next day because it wasn't anything that I had options to eat. I wasn't going to eat bad hotel food. There wasn't anything around where I could get clean food. I didn't bring any of my meals with me. So I just did a fast that day. You know what I mean? And then finally later on, I was at a restaurant. I was able to get some fish and stuff like that. So it was pretty clean, but that was just one of those things where I just had to accept that, okay, well, we're just traveling and talking today. So it's not like I'm working in the ring or doing legs or doing, heavy back or something where I need the calories. So, we'll just lighten the load. And that's another thing I try to do too, is not eat, for 12 hours. Like if I had 12 to 15 hours after I stop eating at the end of the day, I try not to eat again until the next day and just have water at night because it's called Luke Harper actually turned me onto this, to the Wyatts, and now he's lost a lot of weight as well. But, an enzyme cleaning where you give your liver, 12 hours to reset kind of to help filter out the food. And
is that like an intermittent fasting type thing?
It sure is. It sure is. And there's a lot of meal plans out there that work and stuff like that as well. But I think everybody's body is different. So you have to find out how you react to things. And I tell people all the time, the first 3 letters in the word diet is die. And your body will mess with you. Your mind will mess with you. Like for me, for years, I was a very emotional eater. I was sad because I was fat, so I would eat. And then I was sad because I ate because I was fat. So, I went through that vicious cycle of using food for comfort because when you're growing up, food is family time, food is comfort time. You're sitting around the dinner table, you're in the country, there's always people over. Food was a comfort zone. And I think that was one of the things that I had to learn, that food wasn't a comfort zone anymore. I can't run to food if it's a bad day or a stressful day or whatever it is. I had to learn to find a way to get ahead of that. And I think that's the toughest thing, especially today with all the options that people have and the stresses that people are under. I think it's real easy because you're constantly bombarded with advertisements and smells and all that around you, that it's very tough to have the discipline if you're an emotional eater to get past that. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me, was to recognize that was a really bad weakness, which seems kind of obvious now looking back. But at the time going through it, you don't know why you're doing it. You try to diet for 3 or 4 days, and then all of a sudden, you crash and you're sitting in the corner of the locker room eating 4 hot dogs real fast before anybody sees you. You know what I mean? So, it wasn't until you had to say like, hey, why are we doing this? I need to make a lifestyle change. I need to find a nutritional plan that works for me, that I can live with, that gives me results, but at the same time, satisfies me. You know what I mean? But that's it. I think, that was the journey that I'm still going through. And there's a lot of stuff I experiment with here and there too. I try a lot of different things and experiment with it, and then just be honest with myself on stuff. Because, sometimes I'll eat something and then I'll know like, I shouldn't have had that. That didn't work. For whatever reason, it worked for somebody else. It didn't work for me. So finding that magic formula, I'm still finding that. And when I get it all nailed down and I look like a Calvin Klein underwear model, I'll share it with you.
Give me a call when you get it lined up. Here's the last question of the day. Steve, I know you and Big Show didn't travel in the same car on the road together, but what's the drunkest you and the Big Show ever got together? And is there a funny story to go along with it? Vince from New Jersey. Well, what's the drunkest you and I got, and where was it?
It was in Europe. It was on a tour.
Yep.
When you had been taking me on a learning tree. Basically, you kicked the crap out of me every night. And then we had that really good match in London, that dark match, where I finally woke up and figured out I was the big show and you were stone cold. And then I'd earned my rite of passage that night, because back then it was business. And though you liked me outside the ring, in the ring, I hadn't earned your respect yet. And there's a big difference. Back then, I just thought, wow, he's a grumpy ass. But now that I understand it, yeah, business is business. You know what I mean? We can be best friends in the back, but if you can't carry your own weight in the ring, you're a liability and you're a limitation, and you're not helping me, you're hurting me, and I don't have time for it. And the fact that you helped me realize that and realize the bigger picture on everything, you and I bonded. And we actually sat in your hotel room in Europe, just you and I, and then you and I both polished up. You had 2 bottles of Crown Royal, and you and I polished those off. And I remember I was a little tipsy, and, you were doing pretty good. Then finally you threw me out of your room. You're, all right, kid, I'm going to sleep. Get out. And I was like, okay, well, thanks. So that was that. But I remember one of my favorite thing is I got to spend the night drinking Crown Royal with Stone Cold in Europe. I remember the night you drank on the plane on the way over to Baghdad, and you took the bed that was supposed to be made for me in Baghdad. You plopped your 6-foot ass into an 8-foot bed and left me a cot and started to snore so loud. You were ripping the ceiling down, and I'm like, that's a giant bed. Why is he in it? Well, he's Stone Cold. Yeah, but he's 6 foot tall. I'm 7 foot tall. What am I supposed to do? Sleep on a cot? Yeah, I remember that. And then I went over to the crew room, and I threw poor Jason out of his bed, who's the head of the crew over there. I threw Jason out of the only bed. Because remember, there was one bed in each room and then a whole bunch of cots. So I went over to the crew room and took Jason's bed, mainly to get away from your snoring. But that was funny. You saw the big bed, and you took it, and tough noogie.
Well, there's so many things I forgot because of all the cheer shots and the Crown Royal. And then, I remember drinking the 2 bottles of Crown with you, and we were just on a roll and just having a good time. And then that time when we walked into that palace over there, and what was it, Kuwait or Saudi Arabia?
No, that was in Baghdad. That was okay. Like Uday and SA's palace, whatever the names were.
Yeah, but I saw that big ass bed, and it was kind of funny because you were there, Rikishi was there, then I was there, and I was like, well, shit, I ain't sleeping on no damn couch. And I never really used my position as a power play, but on that illustrious trip, it was like, I'm sleeping in that big bed. I ain't sleeping in no damn cot, and I'll be damned. Yeah. I was concerned about y'all's comfort, but I was more concerned about my comfort.
About your own. I know. I got the message loud and clear. It was kind of like, yeah, well, if it was anybody else, I'd say, hey, move your ass. And you kind of helped me a lot and did a lot of stuff for me. And you were putting a lot of asses in seats at the time, and we were all making a lot of money because you were the man. So, I'll find another place to sleep. It's okay, buddy.
But you know what? Going back to those days, Paul, like even back then I had sleep apnea because I know you wear your machine every single night just like I do. And I was so, I think there was a way that I was able to get some alcohol over there, and I never missed any sleep. So I wasn't listening to you snore or if you was in the other room. But if I go back, I wonder how long I had sleep apnea before I got diagnosed with it, because man, you like me, I won't sleep without my machine.
No, I won't even nap without it. And that's the thing. And I probably don't need it anymore because I've lost almost 200 pounds since I first got this thing. But I mean, why? We're both athletic, big-chested, big-necked guys. See, that's the thing, Even though you say you've got a weak stack of dimes, you still spend a lot of years bridging, building your neck, playing football. You've got a big neck and a big throat. You've got a big chest and shoulders. You've got a lot of weight that compresses your lungs. It compresses, that makes it difficult to sleep. And why, if you have trouble snoring, if you're waking up a couple of times in the middle of the night, if your friends say, hey, you snore, if you're snoring, you're not giving yourself the proper oxygen to get rested and to make your brain healthy. Go get tested. Get a sleep apnea machine. Who cares? You're going to sleep. I mean, you know, if you're single, it's the best way to get rid of somebody. You put that mask on, they'll run for the door. If you're married, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Everybody wants you to be healthy. So, I mean, you know, get the sleep apnea machine and get a good night's rest. Because the first time you get a good night's rest with a sleep apnea, you'll know what we're talking about. Because the first time I used that machine, I woke up the next day and it was like a brand new day. I saw bright colors and my mood was better. And it was like, wow, you know, I've been running around for, you know, years not sleeping at night. You know, you figure you get up every night. You don't have to go to the bathroom. It's not a prostate thing. You don't have to pee. You just wake up. Well, why am I waking up? Well, because you choked yourself out in your sleep. That's why you woke up. You stopped breathing, so your brain woke you up. So, yeah, that sleep apnea machine has been the best thing I've ever done.
Dude, this got so bad now, like, I won't even sleep on an airplane because, hell, with everybody in their damn cameras and social media, you know,
right.
Someone will take a picture of a global icon of a national treasure passed out in first class with a gimmick machine on his face.
I have a battery for mine because you do a lot of camping and a lot of hunting, right?
Yeah.
I have
you
a
know
battery.
What? Dude, does that battery work?
Mine that'll last 48 hours. I mean, you can't run the humidifier with it, but you don't really need it to sleep.
I don't need the humidifier.
I mean?
Send me a picture of that battery because I was researching those things on my last hunting trip. We were going to go out in the middle of nowhere. So, dude, I went and bought a generator and a 50-foot extension cord just so I could sleep with my sleep apnea machine. Now, we never ended up spending the night out in the woods, but that's how, dude, I bought a generator just to run my machine because I didn't know about the technology of those batteries. So thanks for smarting me up on that.
I think you'd much enjoy carrying the battery around than you would carrying a generator around. Yeah. You know, it's a good little gimmick. See, on the international flights now, you know, if I fly internationally, and, you know, I get they get sometimes on some of the bigger flights like Emirates, if we're going to the Middle East or something, they'll have those little cubicles where the door kind of shuts, you know. I'll bring my battery and plug in my sleep apnea machine. I'll just throw a blanket over my head. You know what I mean? So, because I'll snuggle down there and lay on my side. If I can get to sleep, if the seat's big enough to get to sleep, I'll put that machine on and throw a blanket over my head while I'm laying down. So, you know, if they want to take a picture, they can take a picture with a blanket over my head. You know what I mean? But, I'm not as cool as you are, obviously, because I FaceTimed another dude, so I'm not that cool. But, you know, when it comes to getting rest, there's no shame in my game. I'll wear my sleep apnea machine. Heck, I should have put it on at the Hall of Fame a couple of times. What? Did I say that out loud? Oh, that's just rude.
Dude, some of those speeches got a little long this past year.
Little long? Man, are you kidding me? I thought I was about to be inducted, not present Mark Henry on a couple of them. I was like, man, I'm going to be up there pretty soon. I got to work on my speech. You know? Hey, they were a little long. I get it. But, you know, hopefully, if I ever do make it in the Hall of Fame, I won't do that to the fellas because most of them got to work the next day, and I'll respect that. So.
Hey, before we ride off in the sunset, I appreciate you joining me for 2 hours of podcasting, bringing us up to speed with everything you got going. And where can people find you on social media, or is there anything you'd like to plug before we leave the air?
Well, I got coming up. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at WWE The Big Show. That's me, except no imitations. I keep people updated a little bit about what's going on here and there. I'm not a posty guy that post every time I go get a cup of coffee, but I let people know I'm healthy and alive and I'm doing fun things. I've got an interesting thing coming up, believe it or not, because you know I'm a big nerd. I got invited by Joe Manganiello and Brad Payton. A couple friends of mine, Brad Payton, just directed Rampage, gave me a call, hooked me up with Joe. Believe it or not, they're doing a thing out in L.A. June 3rd. They're doing a Dungeons and Dragons board game. And I guess there's a bunch of actors and directors out there that are doing a live board game of Dungeons and Dragons. So being the big nerd that I am, June 3rd, I'm going to go out there and play some Dungeons and Dragons with those guys. So, you know, it should be interesting. I haven't played since I was 12, so hopefully I don't make too much of an ass out of myself. But it just sounded like a good opportunity to hang out with some good dudes and have some fun, be a kid again. So we'll give it a shot. Other than that, just doing my work with Special Olympics. July 1st, we got the USA Games in Seattle. I'm looking forward to being out there, and hopefully creative will work itself out. I'm healthy, good to go. So hopefully I'll be gracing the scenes of WWE television real soon. And thanks, Steve, for the time. You're always very cool to me, and thanks for letting me come on here and gab with you. I miss talking to you. I miss seeing you backstage, man. I know we've moved on in life, and we're all doing our own thing now, but there's a few of you guys I just love talking to, you and Arn and Taker. I always feel like when I talk to you guys, I come away a little bit smarter.
Well, always remember this. Keep this in the back of your head as you keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. I'm only a FaceTime call away.
A FaceTime call. Man, I'm telling you, it might be my new gimmick with you. I might FaceTime you only from now on. Just to, I'll keep my shirt on, though. I don't want to make it weird.
Hey, the pressure's on because I downloaded the new Judas Priest album. It's on my iTunes.
Yeah, man.
So I'm fixing to give it a listen. I'm going to call you back and let you know what I thought about it.
Yeah. Give it a run through the whole album because there's a couple of songs in there. The Firepower, I think, is the name of the album. But there's a couple ones down there I'm still familiar myself with, remember the names. But man, there's some old school riffs in there where they get in the guitars and the drums, and it's just like, okay, that's metal music right there. What's his name from Judas Priest? He's still got it.
Halford.
Yeah, he's hitting the notes, and the lyrics are like I remember growing up. I mean, they were good. That good metal music stuff. You know what I mean? And I dug the hell out of it. I really did. And I know you're the only person I know that really appreciates that kind of heavy metal anymore. So I figured I'd give you a shot with it. Let me know what you think. I think you'll add it to your gym routine for sure.
Will do. Please pass my regards along to your wonderful wife, Bess.
Oh, yeah. I'll pass them on, definitely. Definitely. I sure will. You do the same as well. And give those doggies out there milk bone for me and tell them I said hello.
Will do,
All right, my man.
Take care.
All right, good luck. Take care.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. But before I do that, I want to thank my guest, Paul White, The Big Show, for giving me 2 hours the other day. And you heard the first part of the podcast last week. This time we answered questions you guys sent in. Thank you for sending your questions in. I apologize if we weren't able to get to all the questions. Nonetheless, you can check out Paul White, The Big Show, or myself on the WWE Network. And you can also go back. I was telling the guy this the other day. You can watch it on YouTube, but YouTube is not high res. If you sign on, if you join up to the WWE Network, check out WrestleMania 17 entrance made by Triple H. That's still my favorite entrance of all time. There was a couple of questions there that we didn't get to, but if you go to WrestleMania 17 and watch that whole entrance from Triple H right before he wrestles The Undertaker at WrestleMania 17, that thing will blow your mind. It's that damn good, and you got to check it out on the WWE Network. Hey, man. ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin still has all the Broken Skull Ranch t-shirts I wore on Broken Skull Challenge. That show has not been renewed. Broken Skull Challenge has ridden off into the sunset. I'll catch them down the road. But all of the shirts are still available. Nevada editions coming shortly. And if you're thirsty, I got the best damn IPA on the planet. It's Broken Skull IPA at El Segundo Brewing Company. You can find Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California. If you don't live in Cali, check InsideTheCellar.com and see if they ship to your state. And while I've been out here in Nevada, I've been using my pocket knife more than ever. If you need a badass knife, I got 2 of them for you. Cold Steel Broken Skull knife. Cold Steel Working Man's knife. 2 different price points. 2 great badass super sharp knives. Always carry. You can get them at my new Amazon store. Amazon has the best price on both knives. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. And I got to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. You can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page and then click on the Steve Austin Show banner. Folks, I am on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Steve Austin BSR. Until next time, folks, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Pluto TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
What? This is the mindset.
Free.
This is the mantra.
Free.
This is the mindset.
With movies like Joe Dirt, Pixels, and 50 First Dates.
This is awesome.
And TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts. Pluto TV is always free.
Huzzah!
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
You're welcome.